Hello, Empowered Warriors. Welcome to episode 39. So I'm doing something a little bit different with this episode because this episode is part one or episode one of a series of several episodes I'm going to be running over the next few weeks. So many of you have inquired or asked or reached out and asked me specifically, hey, how can I work with you? And apparently I haven't been doing a good job at making that really obvious on the podcast. So I am going to spend a little bit of time just talking about how my system, Reclaim Your F.I.R.E, helps people. And I'm breaking it down into really understandable steps so that if you are wondering, hey, what is this? How can it help me? This is what it's all about. And I talk about in the episode too how I named it, where the name comes from, and I'm just really excited to talk about this and share this with you. So if you have any takeaways, I would love for you to talk about it on Instagram and tag me at I am Angela Noel and let me know what your takeaways are, because as you already know, warriors, you've been a listener for a while, or maybe you just started listening, but I tend to attract people who really want to grow and evolve to their greatest potential. And that's what this podcast is all about, is growing and evolving to our greatest potential and using the Reclaim Your F.I.R.E method. So warriors, stay tuned. Welcome to the Empowered Warrior podcast. My name is Angela Noel, and I am an intuitive coach, acupuncturist, and Chinese herbalist. This podcast is all about empowerment, meaning how you can maintain your personal power in order to have the best life beyond your imagination. An empowered warrior is someone who has the identity of a person who is healthy, radiant, and free from all suffering, and has the tools ready and available to move through life's obstacles with confidence, ease, and a sense of freedom. In this podcast, I bring over 16 years experience in Chinese medicine, countless years of self-development, and a passion for helping others find their personal power. I will be discussing just a few of my favorite topics regarding health from a Chinese medicine perspective, brain habits, and spirituality, so that you can quickly pave your pathway to freedom and be free from the chains that have kept you stuck. My intention with this podcast is to serve as a guide for warriors who want to form a healthy foundation of body, mind, and spirit, and sustain it by changing who they are being from the inside and having a stronger connection to their higher selves. My goal is to help students end the unnecessary suffering that they place on themselves by having poor health habits, negative thought loops, and a lack of self-worth. I am so happy that you're here. Hello, Empowered Warriors. Welcome to episode 39. It feels so good to be back after basically, you probably heard episode 35. Many of you probably know that one because that is the famous sex and pleasure episode. And then for the next 3 weeks, I had just some very amazing guests on the podcast, starting with Dr. Angela Potter, and then Wendy Leeds, and then Jan Meads last week. And those three ladies were just dynamite when it comes to sharing both of their story and what brought them to be doing what they're doing right now in the world and how they help people. And you probably already noticed by listening to these ladies that they were all very, very driven to impact the world in a very special way that only they can do. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is, first of all, if you haven't listened to episode 36, 37, and 38 with my amazing guests, I really invite you to go back and listen to those episodes because these women were just really inspiring. I really enjoyed speaking to each and every one of them. And if you are someone who is challenged with your health, if you are a woman, because I think all of my guests, all three of them, dealt with women's health. Whether you are a working mom who's going back to work, whether you are trying to conceive, or if you are somebody who is struggling with anxiety, chances are you will have probably identified with what those guests offered. And the other reason why I'm bringing up these episodes is because you probably have discovered that, like these three ladies who were basically living their dharma, they love what they did, they're helping all these people, all these women with their health and their well-being. You also have that opportunity within you. There's only one of you. And side note, okay, for those of you that are saying, yeah, I've heard all this before, this is really cliche. It's cliche for a reason. I find that those things that are cliche, those expressions that we consider cliche, they're cliche for a reason because oftentimes they're true. You have, in case you don't already know and haven't discovered for yourself, you have something that is unique within you that is dying to come out. And if you are somebody listening and you are you are at a time of your life where you're feeling that you're not where you want to be. You're not where you want to be with your business, with your financial affairs, in your relationship. And that relationship, by the way, could very well be the relationship with yourself. And chances are, if you're listening and you're nodding your head and you're saying, yeah, I'm not where I am in my life, in my business, in my romantic relationship, in my friendships, whatever that might be for you, chances are it is because you don't have that relationship, which is the most important relationship that you'll ever know, with yourself. And if you're sitting here and you're thinking, okay, I'm ready to do that thing that I want to do, that I've been dreaming of, whether it's you want to be an artist, you want to quit your job, you want to be a professional athlete, you want to be a mother, whatever it is, there's that thing that is inside of you that is producing this feeling in your physical body. And it's this, a lot of us will interpret it as yearning, wanting, desiring, coveting. There's this part of you that wants this thing. You want to express yourself in a certain way, and you know you're not doing it yet. And that, my friends, is what I call your fire, the fire within you. And in episode 35, I discussed what Ming Men fire is in Chinese medicine. So if this is a new terminology, I will go over it again. But I invite you to go back to episode 35 because, first of all, sex and pleasure, if you saw the title and I have to, okay, a little side story here. I did that episode because I felt that it was really important to do that episode. And if you listen to it, you'll know what I'm talking about. I don't claim to be an expert in sex and pleasure. There are many, many people out there online, professional people who deal with this, and they are much more skilled and expertise at talking about it than I was. However, I felt that it was really, really important for me in my position to talk about this because I'm just like an everyday person. I'm an everyday woman if you have been listening to this podcast, chances are you probably thought, hey, I've never heard Angela talk about this before. This is interesting. And for me, in my interpretation, the reason why I felt the need to talk about this it was so deep. And it was out of my comfort zone. I'm not going to lie to you, warriors. It was out of my comfort zone to talk about this, to talk about sex and pleasure. But I knew that I was a vehicle. I was just another way for this message to be delivered to you, because this message obviously needs to be delivered. It is time to end the shame and the embarrassment and all the things, all the, avoidance, hiding tactics that we as human beings learn from our programming when we're growing up as a child, what to be ashamed of, what's right, what's not right. You know what I'm talking about, okay? You've been listening long enough. And it's time to normalize conversations around sex and pleasure. So anyway, it's okay. The reason why I'm talking about this and why I brought this up is that it was really interesting to see how people in my life responded to me doing this episode about sex and pleasure. And to be perfectly honest, it was like radio silence. I didn't have anybody come up to me and be like, hey, interesting episode. In looking at the statistics for my email marketing when this episode came out, and the caption said, or the headline said for the newsletter, Getting Real About Sex and Pleasure, it was interesting to see who in my life opened it and who in my life did not open it. And it's no judgment. But what I'm trying to say is that there is a fire warrior within each and every one of you. And the fact that you're listening tells me that you are somebody who really wants to reclaim your fire. Now, at the time of this recording, it's March. So I don't know when you're going to be listening to this, but it's March of 2021. And I am pretty certain, based on conversations that I have and posts that I read and comments that I see on social media and all the interactions that we have as humans right now, that many of you are feeling like you need a change in your life. Perhaps you're just starting to get that all of this stress, all of this overthinking, all of the physical symptoms that you are experiencing in your life is optional. Like you're really starting to sense that all these things that humans get into, the nonsense, the pain and the suffering that we put ourselves through, unnecessary pain and suffering that we put ourselves through, is optional, isn't it? It's optional. And that is not our normal state of being. And you're really, really starting to crawl out of that cave. I'm not trying to be rude here. I have also been there, okay? Like I'm speaking not because I'm judging, but I'm speaking because I have been there, where I was in my cave and I had my blinders on and I was asleep and I just thought life was hard because that's what I grew up believing. That is what sells on the media, our pain and suffering and fear of basically death is what sells, and it's what gets programmed into our brains, and it takes us away from who we really are. Okay, so now I'm remembering why I was telling you the story about episode 35 and sending out all the emails and being an observer in how people in my life were responding to that episode, because I was talking about Ming Men Fire in episode 35, and I wanted to revisit that because I really want to use this time today to talk to you about why fire. Why fire? Why am I talking about fire so much? And why each and every one of you listening has a fire in your belly, whether it's expressed or not expressed. Trust me, it's there. And this is why it's there. So in Chinese medicine, the kidney channel, as I mentioned before, is fueled by this energy that is like our primal energy. It's the energy that gets our body, our vessel going. And that is called Ming Men Fire. It is the fire that is, and the imagery that I learned in school is there's this cauldron that's burning over a open flame, and the cauldron is the kidneys, and the steam that's coming out of the cauldron is our chi, our energy, our life force energy. But what's beyond that, that fire, is called Mingmen fire. And that is how I came up with, or partially how I came up with, the idea of reclaiming your fire, because it comes from concepts in Chinese medicine. And it came to me in dream time. I literally had a dream about reclaiming your fire. It was just this beautiful dance with Chinese medicine, coming up with this whole system of how I help people. And it feels very relevant because in 2021, I have witnessed, and you probably have witnessed too, whether it's in yourself or whether it's in your loved ones, that people need direction. People are starting to realize that we're not just here to be robots, listen to what somebody else tells us and we believe to be true. We're realizing that our truth can be created by us, by how we choose to be, and not necessarily because of, some external thing that came from our upbringing or the media or politics or whatever. And people are realizing they want more. What is it that they want? Well, this could be an opportunity, warriors, for you to sit down and ask yourself this question. So back in, I want to say it was in the fall, maybe October or November. So every once in a while, I pull out my old journals or, something that's been in my life for a long time, and I kind of make the decision whether I'm going to hold on to it or whether I'm going to let it go. And for me, this is a very freeing exercise. I probably, like so many of you, I have way too much stuff. And when I'm happiest and when I feel more aligned is when I thin out my belongings and free up more space in my environment, which is my home. And I basically go through things and throw things out, sell them, donate them, whatever seems appropriate at that time. And then that freedom that comes from purging is just an absolute beautiful thing. And if you've purged before, and I'm talking about purging your belongings, purging old energy, okay, and we're talking about that kind of purging. It feels energetically like this clearing, like this, I equate it to this bright, sunshiny day that feels easy and flowing, because warriors, that's how we are supposed to be. That is how we're supposed to be. In Chinese medicine, when we feel our best, that is when the qi is flowing freely in our vessels, in our meridians, And when we're not in flow is when we don't feel good, right? So when the qi is not flowing in our meridians freely, that is when we have pain, that is when we have physical issues with our body, that is when we feel emotionally stagnant. Think about PMS, right? PMS is the textbook example of how it feels when we are not in flow. We feel agitated, we feel angry, we feel irritated, and that is because literally the liver is processing so much during that time as our bodies are getting ready to menstruate that it just gets overloaded. It gets overloaded. So more input that's coming in from our lives, from the environment, whether it be toxins, whether it be the crappy foods we're eating, whether it be our medications, in addition to the hormones that it's producing during that time. And also, this can also apply to morning sickness too, right? First trimester, nausea, vomiting. It's because of the liver. It's because the liver becomes overwhelmed and just can't keep up. We're not in flow during this time. We're not in flow during this time. But because of who we are, of who we truly are, warriors, we are pure consciousness and pure love. What is wanted most by us is flow, is freedom, is joy, is all the things. And it's who we truly are. It's literally who we truly are. So I'm going to just go out on a limb here and make a guess about many of you. And the reason why is, like attracts like. We tend to attract people in our tribe that are similar to us. When I was so I'm going back to, now I remember where I'm going. Okay, so I'm going back to the time when I was talking about purging and getting rid of things and opening up and clearing. And So back in the fall, I went through my old journals, and I actually got rid of a lot of my old journals. And I had this ceremony where I ripped pages out of the journal and I burned the old pages. But before I did that, I went through the journals and read a lot of the old entries. Now, warriors, some of these entries were from, I couldn't even believe I still had these journals, were from college and when I had my first job. So when I was in my early 20s to mid 20s. And in one of the entries, I was reading about how I was feeling. I just didn't feel like everybody else. I always had the sense that there was something more in life. And at 25 years old, and I wrote this down, I talked about how so many of us were asleep and brainwashed. So I realized this at 25. I knew that there was something that I was missing and that we were missing as a human species. And I went on to talk about how I felt suppressed for my outspokenness. And I'm not saying this because I'm trying to show that I'm a victim. I'm just wanting to demonstrate to you that chances are you're hearing my story of how, I always felt a little bit different, realized that maybe humans were asleep, including myself, and knew that there was more. You're hearing this and you probably have a very similar story, okay? So if you are in agreement and you can relate, just if you feel inclined, send me a little message on Instagram and say, yeah, like this happened when there's stories of kids feeling psychic, before the age of 7. Many, many, many stories. Many kids see things, right, before the age of 7. And then the brainwashing and the programming and all the other things that come from society takes that away from us. The reason why I'm doing this episode is because I want to demonstrate to you, warriors, how this reclaiming of your fire can help you get back to who you truly are. How it can help you become the person that you know that you really are, that higher version of yourself. Okay, so all of this everyday crap that we experience, the anger and the resentment and the jealousy and the shame and all those low vibration emotions, that is not who we are. That is just our ego. And we are here on this planet to grow and transcend so that we can get to that point of our higher being. So, how does reclaiming your fire help you with that? So let's just go, I'm going to go over really quickly because I will go into more detail about fire and what it means and how it's relevant in future episodes, but I'm just going to really go quickly just to summarize what reclaiming your fire is. Because a lot of you have been asking and you've been wondering and you're like, how can I work with you? Like, I want to know more. And apparently I haven't been clear. I haven't been clear on how I help people and how, if you want to work with me, you can do that. Because I get so caught up in the podcast and sharing that sometimes I forget to say, hey, if you want some of this, you can have it too, and you can work with me. So fire, as I mentioned, I talked about the Chinese medicine aspect of it. I talked about how the title came to me in dream time, even though it didn't really make sense to me at the time. And then I came up with the acronym, all intuitively. The acronym of FIRE is financial abundance, inner peace, radiance and resiliency, and energy balance. And the reason why these feel very relevant is because I truly believe, in my experience, in my observation, and my interpretation, that these 4 things, well, actually it's 5 because radiance and resiliency are kind of wrapped in, but the main word is actually radiance, referring to our health, right? That glow that comes within us when we are healthy and we are radiating health and joy and all the things. Those 4 things combined are what is going to give us the best life imaginable. Now, I know a lot of you may have seen today's blog episode, so I'm recording this on March 2nd, and I invite you to read the blog on Money Doesn't Grow on Trees. If you go on my website, AngelaNoelInternational.com/links, click on blog and you'll read about that. But there's a lot of people out there that are resisting financial abundance piece. They're just not buying it. And I've had conversations recently with people that are all about helping people, and they're like, yeah, money is not my thing. If that is okay, not everybody is here to help other people make money. That is totally cool. And even me, I don't identify as a money coach or somebody that's going to help you with your budgets. That is just an outcome of Reclaim Your F.I.R.E. It's a result of Reclaim Your F.I.R.E. It's what's going to happen as a result of doing the work, working through the pillars. And the pillars are Chinese medicine, spirituality, energy balance, brain habits. So when you work through the pillars, the result that you get is your fire. So for those that are like, yeah, money's not important to me. I want happiness, I want joy, I want family, I want to feel safe. I want to be able to help other people. And those are all really great things. Like, we are here to not only grow, but to help other people. So let me ask you this, and I really want to invite you to go within and ask yourself this question. I know financial abundance is not like the first and foremost thing in order to be happy, because you probably have witnessed yourself that money doesn't buy happiness. But what money does buy is an opportunity to help other people. How many times has somebody asked you for money, whether it be a GoFundMe page or a charity, and you really wanted to help out, and you weren't really able to help out at the capacity that you wanted to, because you said, I don't have the money to donate what I want. So there's that piece. Okay, so money can help more people, right? So when you think about some of the philanthropists out there that are doing great things and helping build schools and serving in their community, even nonprofits need money. They need to raise money in order to do what they do. So let's just put the early programming, this is an invitation, okay? Everything that we've learned about money, if you are somebody that is resisting this part, and I'm going to have a whole episode about this later, so I don't want to drag this on too long, but I invite you, in anticipation of the next few episodes that I'm going to do, to really consider your money story and how you can change it. Because if you are resisting financial abundance as an outcome that you want in life, chances are it is not necessarily your story, but it comes from somebody else at another time. And it's not their fault. It's not anybody's fault. It's just what is. And we have the opportunity to change that. Okay, so next is inner peace. Okay, so if you're not totally sold on financial abundance, warriors, then chances are you're going to be sold on inner peace. Because inner peace is what so many of us want. Like, when you really ask somebody what they truly want and they sit with that. And warriors, by the way, a lot of people don't really know what they want. Okay? So if you're somebody that's like, I still don't know what I want in life, you definitely want to listen to the following episodes, where I'm really going to dive into this a little bit more and show you how you can discover for yourself what it is you want. But chances are, if you are a human being, you probably want inner peace, because let's face it, stress and anxiety and depression and overwhelm, all those things, all those negative emotions and negative states of being are not serving us. They're not serving our higher good. And so many people are saying that they just want to be at peace. They want to be joyful. They want to be truly happy. And they're just not there yet. So we're going to dive into that a little bit more in the future episodes. But as far as the fire component, the I in fire means inner peace. R. The R stands for radiance. Now, as you probably already know, that I'm a Chinese medicine practitioner. And for years and years, for over a decade, I helped my clients in a physical office as an acupuncturist restore their radiance, bring radiance into their life. So when I'm talking about radiance, I'm talking about health and well-being. I'm talking about having great physical health. Because as you probably have already known, and you've listened to this podcast, so you know this, that without physical health, you don't have a business, or you won't be in business for much longer. Without physical health, you won't be happy, or you won't be happy for much longer. Now, some may argue with me about that, but when you don't feel your best every day, are you really happy? Answer that honestly. Okay, if you are a migraine sufferer, are you feeling your best, and are you feeling happy every single day? Are you feeling radiant? So consider that. And then there's another R that I've added, and that's resiliency. And the reason why I added that is because 2020, okay? If there's any lesson that's coming out of 2020, it is the importance of being resilient. So I will discuss that a little bit too in future episodes. So make sure you stay tuned, warriors. There's so much opportunity here for you to learn more about yourself. And finally, the last one is E, energy balance. And specifically, I'm talking about masculine and feminine energy balance, the divine feminine, the divine masculine, the wounded feminine, and the wounded masculine. So this is all about a big component of energy balance is, yes, like so many of us want more energy, right? So many of us are tired. So that's a big piece, right? So we're physically exhausted, and many of us are just can't wait to sleep every single night because we're exhausted, aren't we? And then for many of us, because of all the stress and because of, our overtaxed livers, and that because we're running our kidneys to the ground, when we go to lay down to sleep, we're not sleeping well because our body is so out of balance. So there is that aspect of energy balance. It's getting your body, your physical body, back to its highest energetic state so that you feel amazing, so that you feel good, so that you are no longer in adrenal fatigue like I was for many, many years. And then there's the energetic piece, like our energy as cosmic beings, where we are basically giving away our energy freely without necessarily monitoring where that energy is going. So what does this mean? This means getting a good grasp on our boundaries. Okay, when it comes to how we're spending our energy, and that includes and is most important concerning the way the boundaries that we are setting for ourselves. So when we say we're going to do something, like we're going to stop working at 5, are we staying in integrity with that? And what are the consequences of not being in integrity with not maintaining that boundary with ourselves? So a lot of us, myself included, I did this too, okay? And it's something that I still work on, okay? I'm not perfect. Is we say that we're really good at following through and being in integrity. But when you really start to look at it and piece it together, we're in integrity when it comes to doing things for other people, right? So when we say that we're going to help our husband or friend with something when really we're tired and we really need like just a couple hours to sit on the couch and read a book, and we're not doing that because we want to people please, right? That is not honoring our energy balance, and that is not honoring our divine feminine energy. So I am going to dive into masculine and feminine, what wounded masculine and wounded feminine looks like as opposed to divine masculine and feminine. But if you're curious, I invite you to go online and Google what these energies are about, because they're super, super important. And as a hint, we live in a wounded masculine society. We live in a society that favors masculine energy, and we really don't give any credence to the feminine energies, and we need both. So Chinese medicine is all about balance, right? Of yin and yang, of feminine and masculine. And when we're out of balance in those energies, you probably already can figure out what that's going to look like for you, what that looks like as a society, what that looks like in our everyday lives, what it looks like when, people are out of balance. Just look outside, look at the way people are driving and behaving. Like, do you think that is an example of a balance of the divine masculine and feminine energies? I'm so excited to dive into this and to share with you what reclaiming your fire is all about. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of an idea of what to expect in the future weeks, because I really want to unravel this for you and help you discover what reclaiming your fire can do for you in your life. And I'll give you a little hint. Okay? Well, let's do this. Okay? If you had the financial abundance, let's just let's just take away all the stories. If you're somebody that is like, I don't need that, I'm good. Let's just pull away, go within and see where those stories are coming from if you are feeling at all resistant to receiving financial abundance. Okay? So just imagine you have financial abundance, inner peace, radiance and resiliency, and energy balance. What would your life look like? What are your values? What are those things in life that you value the most in your life? If you're an entrepreneur, for many entrepreneurs, they value freedom. Like that's in their top 5. And everybody's different. So I invite you to go online and look up a values quiz and figure out what your values are and how anything is possible when you reclaim your fire, when you're living according to your values. I am so excited. So excited for the upcoming weeks. There's going to be more episodes than usual because I really want to dive in and give you the content that so many of us are craving right now. So many of us want right now in order to have the best life imaginable. So I'm going to be diving deep and I'm going to be telling you all about what Reclaim Your Fire is about and how it can change your life. So warriors, please reach out to me if you have any questions about this episode or any previous episode. And know that I am here to help you. So if you have been thinking about 2021 as being that year for you, like so many people in 2020 were they're like, I'm over it. Like, no more suffering. No more unnecessary suffering. No more unnecessary stress. No more unnecessary overwhelm. No more unnecessary people pleasing. No more unnecessary putting myself last. No more unnecessary weight gain because I'm not taking care of myself. No more unnecessary stress when it comes to paying the bills. No more unnecessary worry about your business, whether it be your business is not in alignment or your business is not succeeding like you'd like. No more unnecessary physical ailments. Imagine that, warriors. Imagine. And know that if there are people out there, like I love to love him or hate him, I love to use Tom Brady as an example because, first of all, I am a New Englander. I wasn't born here, but I have been living here now since 2002, early 2002, so almost 20 years. And I am a New England sports fan, and I love Tom Brady. Now, if you don't like him, it's okay. I don't expect everybody, we're not all here to agree. What I really like about him is that he demonstrates the stuff that I believe about humanity. He just goes out and does it. And I believe, I noticed that about athletes in general. When I had my acupuncture practice and even in my coaching practice, the best clients, as far as the clients that got it done, the clients that were compliant, the clients that were good students, were the athletes, because they got it done. Even if it was inconvenient, even if, rolling their quadriceps every day on a foam roller is boring and painful, they did it anyway because they knew that what they were doing, and the habits that they were creating was going to help them become a better athlete. And Tom Brady demonstrates that. the reason why I admire him so much is because he is showing the rest of us in the world what is possible. Because for Tom Brady, it's not just a matter of... Tom Brady was not like the first drafted athlete on the New England Patriots, was he? I forget what he was. 16, 18, I'm sorry if I don't know. So he wasn't first round draft pick. And we all know what he did and what he's been doing for the past 21, 22 years for the New England Patriots and now for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's not a matter of just athleticism for Tom Brady. So much of what Tom Brady embodies is this way of being that I am like so passionate about. And I just can't wait to share this with as many people as possible, because I have seen the results, not only in myself, but in the people that I help and in my friends that I have made along this journey who are like-minded. It is amazing, warriors, and I want the same for you. I want the same for you. So stay tuned. There's going to be so many more episodes. There's going to be episode 40 next week. I can't even believe that I've been doing this for as long as I have, that I got to 40 episodes. So stay tuned. There's going to be more about Reclaim Your Fire. I can't wait to share it with you. And until next time, bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Empowered Warrior podcast. It is an honor and a privilege to have you as a listener. If you've enjoyed listening to this podcast and would like to help others pave their pathway to freedom and their disempowerment and suffering and become an empowered warrior, please share this podcast with your friends and family. Also, it is my intention to help humanity grow and evolve to their highest potential. So if you really enjoy what you're hearing, please help me spread the word by leaving a review in iTunes. Thank you again, and I am so grateful to be able to serve you in this very exciting way.